Welcome to Podcasting for Latina CEOs, the go-to podcast for passionpreneurs Latinas ready to launch and grow their online businesses and own their voice with podcasting. I'm Heidy de la Cruz, writer, two-time award-winning podcaster, and podcast launch coach on a mission to help you build a life of freedom, wealth, and impact by turning your ideas into income. If you're a Latina ready to break generational cycles and create your own table, this show is for you. Let's build our dreams juntas. Con amor, Coach Heidy. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcasting for Latinas CEOs. I am your host and your coach, Heidy de la Cruz. And today I want to talk to you about the cost of running a podcast. All right, so I am going to share the investments that I have made for my podcast and also the continuous charges, I guess, right? The continuous things that I pay for on a month-to-month basis for my podcast, just to give you an idea of what investments you may need to do when you're starting your podcast. But I will say that you can start your podcast for absolutely free, no charge, and I will go into detail of more of that. But I just want to give you a realistic idea of how much it would cost you to run your podcast. Okay, so first we're going to start with equipment, right? So if you want to invest in a mic, you definitely will have to purchase that. However, you can definitely start with recording on your laptop or even recording on your phone. I know different podcasters have started even recording on their phone and then just transferring the file to their laptop and editing from there. And then obviously you can run it through Auphonic, the file, and it will help you level out levels and remove background noise and things like that. But definitely your first investment would be a microphone, and you definitely want it to be dynamic, right? The second investment would be if you want to do a video podcast, then you would need to invest in a camera. Now, depending on what laptop you use, the camera on your laptop may work, but my suggestion would be to definitely place it in front of a window so you can get that natural lighting. If not, you can use a ring light. That's perfectly fine as well. But if you feel like your camera on your laptop doesn't work that well, you can use your phone, or you can buy an external camera, like an HD camera, and plug it into your laptop. I like to use a Sony vlogging camera. Well, let me back up. I used to use my Sony vlogging camera. It was like a $600 investment. However, when I upgraded my MacBook this year, I realized that the camera on here was like really, really good. And so I've just been using my MacBook camera to record the video, right? Because remember, I record on Zoom for my immigration podcast, my interview podcast. But for this one, I do audio only, so I don't do the camera anymore. And so I haven't been using the camera for this podcast. But that would be an investment if you do want to include video on your show. And then the next investment would then be where you host your podcast, right? So in episode 12, I go into details on what is a podcast hosting site. And I do go into details of which ones are free and which ones are paid. So if you want to start for free, you definitely can. You can do Spotify for creators, and Podbean also has a free tier. And I just learned that Riverside hosts for podcast. I haven't looked into what their pricing are or how much it is, or if they do have a free tier, but you can definitely look into Riverside because then you can go ahead and record on there, edit on there, and then host on there as well. So that would be another investment. So for example, my first podcast is hosted on Simplecast, but since it is part of a network, I don't pay for the hosting. However, for this podcast, I do host on Buzzsprout and I do pay for it. And so that is an investment that I do on a monthly basis for my podcast. Now, I do have a referral link or affiliate link If you would like to sign up with Buzzsprout, I will include that in the show notes and show description. So that is another investment. Now, the next investment that you would have to do is an editing service, or not editing service, sorry, an editing software. So there are free options like Audacity, and I believe Descript has a free tier if you want to go that route. And then you can also do Alphonic, but Alphonic is not really editing. It's just like the final touch of your episode. And they provide 2 hours per month for free. So that is a way to go around not having to pay for the editing service. Now, if you want to outsource, your editing, then obviously you would have to invest for that and make a budget for that and see how much you can budget, and find an editor within your budget. So that would be another investment for me. I have a VA who edits my immigration podcast for me. So obviously that's a huge investment there with a VA. And for this podcast, I actually do the editing myself. So no investment for this podcast in regards to editing, but yes, for the first one. All right. Another investment would be if you want to have an email list for your podcast, which is highly recommended, then you would have to pay, for the service for the email hosting, right? A free way to go around that. Well, you can definitely check out the different hostings for that, like MailChimp and MailerLite. What are the other ones? Oh, sorry. I have a whole episode on email list. That is episode 9. So if you are looking to have an email list for your podcast, go listen to episode 9 and I go into details on the different email list platforms and things like that. So then you can definitely see if they have a free tier or see how much their paid ones are and see what works in your budget. But that would be another investment for your podcast. So for example, I have MailChimp, so I pay a monthly fee for that. One way that you can go around this is using Substack as your email list because Substack is free. All right, another investment would be for Canva. So if you already have Canva for your business, then, you would just continue to use Canva for your podcast. You can definitely use a free account for Canva to get your podcast cover art from there because they do have templates for it. But if you want to continue to create graphics for your podcast for marketing purposes, then I highly suggest, just to invest in the Pro Canva because, it does have more features and things like that. So that would be another investment for your podcast. Now, if you want to have a website for your podcast, that would be another investment. The hosting, you can definitely check out different website hostings to see how much their pricing are and things like that. And I believe I also go into detail about that in episode 6 when I talk about blogging. So, talking about hosting your website and things like that. So you can definitely check out that episode for more information about that. But that would be another investment, right? So, for example, for my podcast, I do have someone who helps me with my hosting of my website. And then when I need to change anything on my website, I go to him and to make updates and things like that. So that's definitely an investment. And let's see here. If you want to sell digital products from your podcast, then wherever your store is hosted, that would be another investment. So for example, I have Stan Store. So that is an investment. I pay monthly for Stan Store to be able to sell my digital products from there. If you are going to have interviews on your show, right? If your show is interview based, then where you record will definitely be another investment. So for example, like I mentioned earlier, I record on Zoom for my first podcast, and I've been using Riverside for the second one when I do the solo episodes. And for Zoom, obviously that's an investment. I do the yearly one. So I just pay once a year. And the reason why I use Zoom is because a lot of my guests are not podcasters. And so a lot of people know how to use Zoom. So I don't really have to educate them on how to use this platform. Versus if I were to use a platform specifically for podcasters, then, a lot of education will have to go into that. But everybody knows how to use Zoom. So that's why it's just easier for me and for my guests to use Zoom. So obviously that is an investment and that is where I record. You can use, I believe Zoom has like the 40-minute. So if you are doing solo episodes and you want, and you know it's going to be less than 40 minutes, and obviously you can use the free version of Zoom. You can also use Riverside. Riverside is also free to record. So these are different ways to get around recording for free. All right. So again, when starting a podcast, you can definitely start with zero investments. You can record on your laptop, record on your phone, edit on a free editing platform, and host it on a free tier from a podcast hosting site. So you can definitely do that. And as you go, then you can go ahead and invest, like I said, with equipment. So the first investment would be a mic, a dynamic mic. And then if you want to do video, then you will go ahead and invest in a camera. And then if you want to, again, outsource any steps of the podcast cycle, then you definitely would be investing in that. Canva, again, they have a free account, so you can get all your graphics done there. So there's definitely different ways to get around the cost of having a podcast. But if you are going to do this long term, then you definitely want to make some investments, right? Because if you want your podcast to be a business, you have to treat it as a business. Or if you already have a business and you're adding your podcast as a business funnel, then obviously the cost of the podcast will tie into your business expenses. If you have any further questions in regards to cost or investments in the podcast, please send me an email at Heidy@HeidyDelaCruz.com. Remember, I do have an equipment and tools list available in Stan Store that you can download for free. And in that freebie, there are affiliate links to the tools and the equipment that I recommend. Again, that link will be in the show notes and show description. And if you are ready to start your podcast, make sure to sign up for one-on-one coaching with me. And it is the 6-week program that is called the Voice Method. And I will walk you through each step on launching your podcast. Thank you again for being here. Letting me coach you through this podcast process. I am so happy to be teaching you and helping you launch your podcast and grow your podcast. And yes, I will see you in the next episode. Con mucho amor, Coach Heidy.
Thank you for listening to Mommy Podcast.